I'm Katy, and this is my podcast, Katy Needs a Podcast, where I get to talk to the cool people that I meet and like. And today is no different. I'm actually talking to two people that I like so much that we're in a band together, Sierra Miffed. And I don't really want to talk about it too much because I will say way too much. We won't even need this interview. Before I do, I'm going to introduce the other two so that they can kind of tell our story. Jenna, Leah, would you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hello, I'm Leah.
I am Jenna. I sing and play guitar and I write the songs.
And I am Katy. Once again, I play drums in this band. And Leah, what do you play?
I play bass.
Hell yeah, you do. Okay, so we've got a lot of stuff that we can talk about, but let's start at the beginning. Starting with you, Jenna, would you mind kind of talking about like how you got into music, like any instruments that you played, and then how you kind of became a punk rock person?
I guess I kind of I had my parents give me a keyboard for Christmas one year and I just was like I messed around on that and like made up songs a little bit, but like nothing crazy. But I guess the first instrument formally I learned how to play was the clarinet. I joined the band in my school in like fifth or sixth grade, whatever the first year is. And I didn't actually want to play the clarinet. I wanted to play the saxophone because that's what Lisa Simpson played on The Simpsons. But they told me my hands were too small. So I couldn't play the saxophone because of fascists, band fascists. But my sister had tried and failed to play the clarinet. So we already had a clarinet at home. So they're like, guess what? You're playing the clarinet. So that was like my first formal foray into playing music, learning to read music, being in a band. And then I also took piano lessons for a little while formally, didn't really stick with that. And then when I started to get into my own music, like come of age, I was around like 12. I think that's kind of like when you start becoming like your own person and you start listening to your own music rather than just like whatever your parents have on the radio. That's when I started getting really into punk rock. Specifically, my gateway drug, like many others, was Green Day, of course. And I really wanted to learn to play the guitar. And so my first guitar I bought from this kid that I rode the bus with, who was like super into rock and like had a bunch of guitars. And he sold me a black and white like Harmony Strat ripoff for like $50. And he came to my house when he dropped it off and he had like a little written like loose leaf paper that was like a receipt for me.
Aww.
I know. It was hilarious. So, and that's when I first started playing guitar, and then like my dad just got me like a guitar book and I like learned all the like chord, like the open chords, you learned all that stuff. And I was like, this doesn't sound like Green Day though. This I don't understand. Like, how can I get to that place? And so then my dad had me take lessons. And the guy was basically like, just tell me what songs you want to learn to play and I'll just teach you to play those songs. And I was like, well, I really like Green Day. And he's like, let me tell you about a thing called power chords. And I learned what those were. And I stopped taking lessons very shortly after that. I don't remember why. I think maybe because the guy went out of business or something and he was just having them at his house and I thought it was weird. So I just stopped going. And I'm like, well, I have power chords now, so I don't really need anything else.
Okay, well, we'll pause in the story there so that Leah can get to about that point in her own story. Like, how did you find yourself playing music? Because I know that bass is also not your first instrument. And that, like, you're a punk rock person, but you also have like kind of a wide net into like synth and electronica and like all of these things. So, like, how did you get uh from a childhood where like all of us we were obsessed with Weird Al, maybe not you, you've always been pretty cool, but then you find yourself like into the stuff that you're into now?
Weirdly, I feel like Jenna and I have a pretty similar child background in that capacity. I started playing piano because I think my grandma had a piano. Someone in my family had a piano. And I just kind of like started figuring out songs. And then my parents were like, she should take piano lessons. And so I took vocal and piano lessons for quite a while. Um, and then, kind of would like off again, on again, play. Like I would always have keyboards and things as I got like older. I stopped taking lessons probably like by the time I started going into middle school. I don't think I was like regularly taking lessons. I was just kind of doing my own thing. But then I also started playing clarinet. Also wanted to play saxophone because of Lisa Simpson, but the way that my school determined how you picked your instrument was whatever you could make a sound with, which was clarinet for me, and I was not happy about it. I also don't think that my mom was like that stoked about it either, because it was like, I wasn't good at it and it was loud.
What was this conspiracy in the
It was
90s
a
where they were like,
conspiracy. Yes, it was. Well, and I also remember like being pissed because I wanted to play piano, but like the teacher played piano, and I was like, I want to sing and play piano. I don't really want to, whatever, if I can't play what I want to play. So clarinet was pretty short-lived for me. And then, yeah, most of my life I just kind of did my own thing, just like played music, would sometimes make up songs. I would like kind of here and there like mess around with guitars, but like never in any serious capacity. I would like sometimes learn a song or something. And then yeah, the bass thing just happened because Jenna needed a bassist. And I was like, well, let me see if I can even try to play a bass. I had never like touched one even really. And so I borrowed one from our friend Jake, which was like a full scale bass. And I'm like, all right, I think I can do this. And then I bought a short scale bass and started learning to play it, I guess. So
Let's talk about the project now, because that seems like a good way of kind of bringing all of these points together. So it was a Halloween party, right, Jenna?
yes, the Fateful Halloween party of 2022, I
Indeed.
believe.
No.
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah, I think so. Because, like, yeah, I was working. Yep, yep. You're right.
Yep. So it was like the first Halloween party I think I had been like, I think any of our friends had since the pandemic was winding down. And I remember at the time, I was just trying to figure out, I was just real depressed and I had gone through like a big life change. Like we just bought a house and like it was very stressful. And I started also a new job while was buying a new house, and just a lot going on. And I just always was like, I always have this like low level anxiety, depression. I never really do anything about it. So I decided to finally start dipping my toe into the antidepressant game. And my primary care person suggested I try Wellbutrin. And I didn't really like it. I didn't stop taking it at that time. I was still taking it and I didn't really like it. And I felt weird being at the party, even though it was all my friends. And I had a killer costume that year. I was Debbie Harry from Blondie. So I was like, all right, I have this cool costume. I need to go. And then, so we went, and I remember you and Jake had showed up. Jake Simmons, by the way, of Jake Simmons and the Little Ghosts, Kalamazoo
Also
indie
known,
royalty.
yeah, also known as the guy who can go fuck himself, as many stickers around town depict.
Yes, famously. Well, you guys came a little bit later, um, and I don't even remember how we started talking, because at that point we just kind of knew each other tangentially. I don't think we had ever like had a very like in-depth conversation really at all. We just kind of see each other around and stuff. But I just somehow we got to talking, and you were just like, "Hey, what's up?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm on this med. I don't like it." And you're like, "Oh, what is it?" And I told you, and you're like, "Yeah, I didn't like that one either." And you were like, why are you taking this stuff?" And I was like, "Well, I feel like my anxiety kind of prevents me from doing things that I want to do and like kind of living the life I want to live." And so I'm trying to do something about it. And you were like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I've always wanted to perform. I've always wanted to be in a band. And you, like, without skipping a beat, were like, let's start a punk band.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? I'm like, uh, I just was not expecting you to say that. I was not expecting the conversation to go that way, but you were just like, yeah, let's just start a punk band. And I was flabbergasted and it was just like, like couldn't even like fathom that that could be something that you could just do. So I think I was just like, yeah, okay, I'll think about it. And then like we commenced with the party and went our separate ways. And I don't think I reached out to you about it. Like I'd seen you again, like after that too. I think your band was playing a show at Papa Pete's. I think it was Reggie's last show, actually, maybe. Well, what was supposed to be their last show. What was supposed to be their last show. And I ran into you again and you were just like, hey, just so you know, like I'm for real. Like if you anytime you want to like get together and do this, like let me know. And I was just like, okay. And you were just like planting the seed in me because of course I wasn't gonna just do something. It takes me a while to come around to things. And so I don't think I actually reached out into you. I remember like then like New Year came and I was in Chicago with my brother for New Year's and I was having a really good time and it's like mostly with his friends and next day we were getting ready to go home and we were having dim sum in Chinatown and he was just like, so what's your New Year's resolution? And I was just like, fucking, you know what? I'm going to start a band this year. Like that is my New Year's resolution. I've always wanted to be in a band. I've always wanted to be a songwriter. I just never knew how or like if I could. But I was just like, fuck it. I'm 38. Like I'm not going to get any younger. So let's just fucking do it. But even then, I still don't think I got in touch with you until like late January. I think it was like the end of January when I finally sent you that Facebook message that was like, let's do it.
Yeah, I think we got together like the day before my birthday or something.
Yeah, it was like your birthday weekend, like that Friday.
Yeah, and so like we started and it was just two guitar players and
Yes.
eventually we talked because it's like one of my dreams kind of selfishly when we were talking was like it would be so cool to be in an all-female punk band.
Yep,
And
that was
like
always my thing too.
yeah, and I just feel like there's not enough credit going around to the all-female punk bands. Like they always get kind of like poo-pooed upon and stuff. And like I wanted to be one of the ones that was like really awesome. But it was really difficult to find like a bassist and a drummer. So like it was kind of like I have a little bit of experience with either instrument. If we can find someone to play the other, then I can play what's left. And then we started searching for a bass player. And that is a good place to talk about Weezer. Am I right?
Yes. Well, Leah, do you wanna? I feel like I've talked a lot about this, and you're involved in this part. So how do you remember this transpiring?
So yeah, so we were driving to Detroit for a Weezer show. Yeah, I heard the demo and basically it was kind of that. I was like, all right, like I'll try to play bass. I was like, no promises. I've never touched a bass, but I can see what I can do. And yeah, and then I borrowed a bass from Jake again, Jake Simmons, because of course. Um, and I was like, all right, let's do this, I guess.
We started to play as a three-piece in June, and by January, we were debuting in front of our friends on New Year's Eve in Jenna's basement. And then when was our first like public show? Was that in February?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, it was.
Yeah, man, that was a great show.
The
And
whirlwind truly could not have been a better first show.
it was
Seriously.
Seriously.
the vibe was
Oh,
on point that night. And there
a
were a lot of
blessing and a curse.
yeah.
Immaculate. Yeah.
So like we're coming to the end of the year. Like when this is airing, it's going to be December 30th. So it'll be like one day left to the year. And how do you all feel about our first year as an active band in the scene?
I mean, it's a dream come true. I like didn't think that I would ever be able to do this. And I truly don't think if I wasn't doing this with like you too, like I don't know if I ever would have like had the confidence to like follow through with it and like try to do anything. So I think we had an amazing first year. We played a bunch of really cool shows. We made shirts and we've sold basically all of them. There's only two left. We recorded a demo by the aforementioned Jake. He's just got his hands in everything this town.
Yeah.
Tricky little hands all over
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. We've made a lot of good connections. I mean, I just
Played a
feel like
Halloween show.
yes, oh my God,
Yeah,
yes.
pretty cool.
We learned an entire set of
Every Josie and the Pussycat song ruined our Spotify Wrapped between the
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
embarrassing because I like released Big Boy at the beginning of the year, and of course I listened to it a gazillion times. So
No,
my
you're
number
nuts.
one song,
That's nuts. That's
You
nuts.
it's like
narcissist. I was
I
wondering why you didn't show us your raps. I was gonna
yeah, not
I'm gonna challenge you to do that on this podcast. Is what I wanted to do. Like
I
show
don't
it to us right
wanna.
now, live,
It's so
live.
embarrassing. No, maybe I'll edit it in, but it's really embarrassing. I feel like I like need to take a step
Mine's
back.
not getting shared this year. I decided that immediately. I was like, I don't care that everybody knows probably that like with the Chapel
Nice.
show and the Josie show, I'm like still. And like all of my like playlists now, like I don't know how long it's gonna take to get it back to normal because it's just like
I know.
all like girly pop, which some of that's fine.
Yeah,
But
right
I'm
now.
like, no.
It's like my day lists are also pretty fucked up right now because it's like I listen to a lot of Josie, I listen to a lot of Chapel, and I listen to a lot of Stephen Trask for the Hedwig performance that we did. So I'm
Yeah.
getting like random show tunes, and it's like
Oh
that's not
no.
okay.
Oh no.
Okay,
They're like,
so
you're kid.
yeah, you're gonna like this, and it's like
Big
Dear
theater
Evan
kid vibe.
Hansen.
Oh no.
On top of writing stuff, on top of learning stuff, for Leah, on top of like learning a whole new instrument, you threw on these two huge cover sets where it's like you were in Katy Needs a Life for the Chapel Rowan set, and then we as a band did Josie and the Pussycats. How are you guys feeling during that process? Because that was like kind of going 0 to 100 out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was a lot. That way, it's also weird though because I feel like because it was Halloween season, which was like it was October in general, which was like the busiest October I can remember having in like I don't know, like any recent years where I was just like how like every weekend was packed and then the days were like I think there was like a handful of days the entire month that I didn't have like something written into a calendar. So it was a lot. I feel like it took a while to recover from it, but I think a lot of that was also tied into a lot of like anxiety about the upcoming election and just like collective like stress and angst. I feel like the music aspect was great. And it's like very fulfilling and fun and um it just feels good. And it feels good to be like creating something that is positive in the world right now in general. And I think there's like so much healing in art and music and it's like so necessary. But I feel very proud of us. I think yeah. I don't know. I mean I can't imagine being in like four bands as
Oh my
as
God.
are as you are, Katie. That would be too much for me. I know that.
It,
Um
yeah,
I was like, this is yeah.
it's a lot.
Uh
And when I look
So you have the
outside,
inclination though.
well, it's fun and stuff, especially
Yeah.
in the summertime, because then it's like, oh, I'm so busy and I'm having such a good time. But I look
Yeah, I
outside
could
right now and it's like,
yeah.
I don't want to drive to Pawpaw.
Fuck no.
No.
For me, it
But
was just like I felt like I was in I don't know, I felt like I was in like high school again. And we were like getting ready for like the big band concert or like getting ready for like marching band competition or like concert band competition. Like it felt and we were just hanging out, you're just hanging out with your friends the whole time too. So it's like to me, I loved it. And it was a rude awakening come down for sure after it was over, because it's just like you're just go go go, and like you're stressing about learning these songs and you feel like it's your whole life. But yeah, I loved it. Like I said, I felt like I was back in high school again and doing extracurricular activities
I
with my
was
friends.
my high school experience was vastly different than that. It's like getting hammered in cornfields when I was in high school. The extracurriculars were not, but yeah, it was very
Fair.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that experience. I feel like it was a really good opportunity to like grow as musicians and stuff because it was like the Josie stuff is recorded by like a Hollywood band, that like writes all of the stuff for like the musicals that I referenced and stuff. And it's like, it's really tight and it's really big and cinematic and stuff. And so it's like a lot to wrap your head around. And I empathize with it's like when everything was said and done at the end of November and like Hedwig was over and I was like finishing up my last day, I had this like fear that I was going to like crumble because there wasn't anything to do. And for me, it was like nonstop since June. Like every day there was something. It was like every day. There was like a 3 day break where I was really, really sick, but that was it. And I've actually really liked it. I've been sleeping in until like 11. It's been like pretty chill. I like go for my little run every day. Yeah, it's been really cold for that, but let me see really quick. 'Cause there's
Well, we
like
didn't mention that also, yes, in addition to like all the stress of October, everyone,
Was getting just sick and then like recovering from getting sick and then getting sick again. Yeah.
and I'm just getting over my third time being sick.
I know, dude, it's been like nonstop. And like I feel bad for people that have like kids right now because I feel like they're just not going to be well until summer when the kids are home for a few
That's
months.
why my sister-in-law was sick, because my nephew, Jacob, is like in kindergarten now. And she's just like, yep, I'm just like sick all the time. This is just my
Ugh.
life. Good Lord.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is one that once again individually you guys can answer. But if you were talking to a young punk rocker that was like interested in the same things that we were, like in the formulation of this band, what advice would you give to a young punk rock princess if you were to give any right now?
I would to just do it, to not be concerned with your image and what people are going to think of you. Though I think that's also, I don't know, that's so hard because it's like that either comes with age or I think you inherently kind of have a like, I don't fucking care attitude. Like, I think we're so concerned with our peers and society and just like if we're going to be judged or not. Um, and then I think there also comes a time where it's like, and I know Jenna like kind of we've talked about this a little bit with like being older and if it's like, oh, am I too old to be doing this thing? And it's just like, no, just do the fucking thing, learn the thing. Like, I don't know. I learned to roller skate however many years back that was, and then became like obsessed with roller skating in my 30s and like do cool tricks and shit, which is just like, I don't know, anything like that, whether it be music or art or I don't know, anything. Surround yourself with people that are supportive and inspiring, and people that want to communicate their goals. Yeah, have a community around you of support, basically. Um, like-minded people. Go to shows, meet people, meet Katie's of the world that are gonna like push you to do the thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like, go to shows, um, as many like I would say like basement shows, and find your people, find your tribe. Um, it can be hard, like especially if you don't know anyone and you're going to a show, it can be hard to kind of like approach people or like feel things out. I would say if you just keep showing up, I mean, the bands will notice, the people in the houses will notice, they'll strike up a conversation. You know, you'll get in with someone eventually. But At least that's what I would say. Just like be out there. Like don't just sit in your room and be sad about and like just want and just wish and want and dream about doing stuff. Like get out there and like make your face known. Um, put in the time and then just also like or maybe if you don't even if you're not at that point yet, like find an instrument, buy a cheap instrument, and then spend that time alone in your room, like learning the instrument, and then like start going to shows and trying to meet people. That's what I'd say. Or learn together, honestly. Like just I would say just like don't wait. don't don't talk yourself out of it before you even give yourself a chance to like try and make something happen because I think you'll be surprised at um how easily it can come together if you just put that intention out. So,
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think that's solid advice. I feel like it's it starts with you saying out loud, this is the thing that I want, and then
mhm.
you'll find it. I mean, like this has been a really fun process over the last year, and I look forward to what 2025 has to bring. As like a band, where do you guys want to go this next year? Like, are you thinking that we should try to tour? Do you think like there's going to be some cool shows? Like, there are some things that we know are happening that we can't talk about yet.
I
But
know, I was just about to say we've got something in the works. One thing is
yeah,
coming up, but I'm pretty excited about. But yeah, speaking on that, I would love to go on tour. Even if it's just like a little weekend Midwest romp. But also, I have connections. I've got someone in Atlanta, I've got someone in Phoenix, I've got someone in San Francisco, so we can maybe spread out a little
yeah.
uh if we want to dream big. But yeah, I would love to get out of town and go somewhere and play some rooms that we haven't played before, even if it's just like Grand Rapids. I don't know if we've even played Grand Rapids yet, but yeah, I don't think we have. So I would
Yep.
love to, yeah, to tour a little bit and maybe have enough to to like record an album.
That would be so awesome. I would love that. What are you hoping for this year, Leah?
Yeah, I'm on board with that. I mean, I know definitely we talked about trying to get a full album recorded. I think that's a great goal. I think a little tour would be very fun. Work on new music, meet new people, play new spaces.
Yeah.
So now that you've played around and like both of you are so passionate about music, who are two, like if you both could like choose two artists each that you feel are criminally underrated and people should be checking out, who would they be?
I'll go first if you don't mind, Leah.
Go for it.
Okay, so I would say this is a band that you and I bonded over initially, Katy, which to me like cemented our partnership. Um, there's a band, they're not a band anymore. They're called Beverly. They're a band that I discovered, I don't know, I probably back when they were still making music, like 2014, 2015. And no one I ever talked to ever knew who this band was. No one had ever heard of them. And then Katy and I start hanging out, and lo and behold, she had also heard of Beverly. She was the first person who had ever also heard of this band. But Beverly is I think they were based out of Brooklyn. It was Drew Citron is the lead singer. She also has solo stuff that's very good. She has a solo album that's really good. And I would describe their sound as I think they said they described their sound as like the Breeders meets the shop assistants, which I think is a really cool. I love both of those bands, so I think she's pretty spot on there. So if you're into those bands, check out Beverly, check out Drew Citron. She has her solo album on Spotify, and actually, we both loved Beverly so much that we had barely known each other, Katy and I, and we decided she on a whim, I figured out that Beverly was playing a reunion show in New York City in March. of when we started, like it was 2 months we had just started hanging out. I was like, hey, do you want to go to New York City and see Beverly play the show? And you're like, yeah, okay. We
Yeah.
had barely known each other and we're like, yep, now we're gonna take a trip. And that was so much fun. They were so good.
Yeah, we got to meet Drew. That was
Yeah,
really
we
fun.
did.
And
We
that
did.
was
I didn't want to. This is again, this is where our opposites come into play, where I'm like, I'm not going to talk to the band. She just got off stage. I'm going to hang out in the corner. And you're like, Drew, we came all the way from Michigan to see you. And I was just like, oh my God, oh my
yeah, I'm
God.
such a tourist. Like,
Well, no, you just like make things happen. You just like don't give a shit. You're just like, I'm here and this person is cool. I'm going to talk to them.
well, it was really cool because the person that like we met up with and got dinner with actually was kind of friends with Drew. So she was
Yeah, that
like,
was
no,
insane.
she's like, she won't bite. Go ahead.
But
Who
yeah, so I would say Beverly, even though RIP, they're not making new music, and I don't know if she'll make another solo album, but I really like them. So check them out. And then another band, I had a tie between what my second pick was going to be. I'll just say them because I am a rebel and I'm breaking all the rules. I would say I think the Muffs are pretty underrated, under appreciated as a great 90s pop punk female led band. They had a bunch of bangers on a bunch of very seminal soundtracks in the 90s. Funny Face on the Angus soundtrack. I think people would probably know them best by their cover of Kids in America, which is on the Clueless soundtrack. But all their stuff is really good. And she's definitely an influence to me. I love her vocals. She's a total, she's like a shredder, both guitar and vocally. I aspire to that. And then my other band, I'll just say Lisa Prank, which great name, am I right? I mean, we love a jokey pun band name around here. So Lisa Prank, she's a solo pop punk artist. I think she's out of Portland and she's just got a couple of albums. She sounds very much just like Colleen Green in that same vein of like just a girl and a guitar and a beat machine, like a drum machine. Very Ramones heavy influence, I would say. Like very simple songs about being in love and relationships and stopping and starting drinking again. um, so yeah, those are I know you don't said only pick two, but those are my three of, I think, underrated artists.
well, Jenna broke the rules, but that's fine. Leah, if
Rule
you want to,
breaker, Jenna.
yeah, I
You
guess
know me.
if you want to, you can say three because, like fuck restrictions.
Um, so I my yeah, I guess I was going between a few, but I decided to go with Jessica Lee Mayfield, even though she hasn't put out an album for a while, like since like 2014. But I think she's an amazing artist. She's got a very kind of like ominous sort of vibe to her songs, and I feel like somewhat minimalist as well, but like really can be like pretty heavy and just like I don't know, she just packs a punch. I just love her. She's from Ohio, so I'm like, fuck yeah. I mean, we're from Michigan, but it's the Midwest,
The
that's what we call
Midwest,
it, even though
yes,
everybody's
sure.
like, that's not the Midwest. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think she's phenomenal. My other band was Pile. Pile just it just I don't know. They've been around since 2010. They're out of Boston. I don't think they have the following they deserve, but they're near and dear to me. Those are going to be my two picks if I'm picking two.
Yeah, I feel like Pyle played at Millhouse a long time ago. Like I was talking with
That house.
someone who used to live there, and they were like, "Yeah, Pyle was there," and it's like,
That's
"Fucking
very
go!"
cool. I hate when I hear about stuff like that though. And it was like I was either like living in Chicago or like just somehow missed it. David Bazan played some like little Kalamazoo living room at some point, and I missed that also. And I was just like, God damn
man.
it.
I know, like
Missed when Jack White was in town. Like I'm just like, how? Like I'm here. What do
I missed when Matt and Kim played a basement. I missed
Yep, yep,
when
yep.
Dan Deacon played a basement. Okay, so like we really are I don't want to keep you guys on forever because I like was late and stuff. So, and this might be more of a Jenna question, but obviously I would love to know like where you come from when you're like trying to like learn the bass and stuff. Like what influences your songwriting? Like what bands or what kind of like situations have come into play? Things like that.
So, as I stated in the beginning of this podcast, Green Day was I cannot state the amount of influence that they had on me. They were my first favorite band. They were my favorite band all through middle school, high school. They were my gateway into all things punk rock. And I don't want to say I was always political, but I was always pretty politically aware. Like my family was always pretty involved in like in that. And I lived in an area of West Michigan where we did not share the same political beliefs. West Michigan is very conservative, very religious. That was not my environment growing up. So I always felt kind of different from everyone. Like you can just like kind of feel, even when you're like young and you can't really put a name to it or you put your finger on it, you can just tell that like, oh, I'm different from like I don't belong here, basically. So a lot of themes in Green Day's music, but this is like before they got into the whole overtly political stuff with like American Idiot. They were just kind of talking about how they were just so self-deprecating and just talking about like, oh, I have anxiety and I feel weird. I mean, like that's what Basket Case is about, right? It's just like, wow, I feel fucking weird. And so it was like a lot of personal stuff that, for whatever reason, you feel alienated from, from your peers because you don't all like the same thing. Or like I said, growing up in an area where you can just tell that like the people are very different and the values are very different. But they always, what drew me to them, I think, was just they wrote very relatable songs about like, yeah, I'm very self-deprecating. Like I've always been a very self-deprecating person, and I've always been drawn to that kind of like not taking yourself too seriously. And it could be like a defense mechanism for an introverted kid who has anxiety and like grew up on Comedy Central and all that stuff. And like you just kind of learn to think of comedy and like making fun of yourself as a way to like ingratiate yourself with people. But like that's what kind of drew me into Green Day and got me into like the whole. There's also, the political side of punk, like I said, like I love Bad Religion. I don't want to say I loved the Sex Pistols. I appreciated the Sex Pistols for what they were. I never really got into them, but the Clash was another, like these bands that had all these ideals that matched up with how I felt. And then also with like bands like Green Day who would sing about just kind of feeling a general sense of alienation that I think a lot of adolescents, and I think this is just like a very weird thing also, like for a 12-year-old girl to be like super into this stuff. And it's like I didn't come into like Riot Girl until like much later. I was a late in life person because by the time like 94 or whatever, like Riot Girl was kind of already done at that point. So I do love a lot of those bands and I really appreciate what they did, but I feel like I can't say that they're an influence. But I did always kind of like have that thing of just like, yeah, why are there so few women in punk, So anyway, my influence is always like I draw from like, I feel weird basically, or like why do I where like exploring that like alienation or just like being kind of snotty. Like that was another thing too. Green Day had a very snotty sort of attitude. I think Bigger Person kind of sums up that attitude and like um just kind of leaning into being a brat.
Let's take a pause. And Leah, like when you were learning how to play the bass, were there any songs that you were like referring to, or like is there any like band or bassist that you aspire to be more like as you like get farther down the road? Because like just for clarification, you are an amazing bassist. It's been a year, like and a half since you touched the instrument the first times, and like you've made leaps and bounds from day one. But like, do you have like a bassist idol that you look up to?
I mean, there's a million amazing bassists that exist. Obviously, like a million amazing, like badass women bassists. I don't know. I think that because I'm someone that has always been like multifaceted, and when I like in an artistic capacity, I learned a long time ago that I comparing myself or like trying to strive to be like someone else is going to be like pretty upsetting to me. So I don't really, I mean, yeah, there's a million amazing bassists that exist, especially like women. Um, but I don't really, I guess I just don't think about it in that way. Like I'm just like, I want to be better. I want to be able to play um faster and have it feel less difficult, I guess. But I don't like in my mind, I'm not like, I want to be Kim Deal or whatever. Like I'm just like, I'm not gonna be, I'm Leah Shanahan, so I'm gonna be me, you know.
Don't we all
I
want to
just
be Kim
wanna
Deal?
yeah,
Yes.
I
we
would love to
do.
be Kim Deal.
We do.
I just had
But
to say that.
yeah, I don't know. I guess I just don't. Music and art to me is like a means of processing and healing and like alchemizing, right? I think it is for every artist to be playing in an all woman punk band is very empowering, and especially under the patriarchy and like the world that we're living in. Yeah, it's I want to be badass and feel like I'm doing something that people assume I can't do or shouldn't be doing, And there's a lot of like imposter syndrome involved too, of course. And I think
Yeah.
that fighting against that and doing it anyway is really cool also. So
Yeah.
fuck the haters.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
Now we're going to get into the niche topics of our podcast. And like, I'm going to let you like kind of guide us. If you just want to talk more about your interest in astrology, Leah, or if you want to do something that is more of like a reading, I don't know how you want to do that, if it would be one of us or if it would be something that's a little bit more of a wide net. I don't know. But I feel like it's something that is so cool about you that like you have this tuned in nature to like the universe and stuff. And what you do, you're very good at. So I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about it.
Okay. Thank you. It's funny because I feel like with astrology, really anything in life, that I'm like, when somebody's like, you know a lot about this, I'm like, I know nothing about this. The more I know, the less I know about everything in life. And I think that's a good way to be. You can always learn more. You can always improve. But I mean, I can touch a little bit on the upcoming astrology or the astrology we're moving into in the new year and in the next few years. So we have some outer planets that are moving. Pluto is a big one. Pluto already moved. So it had moved from Capricorn into Aquarius for a little while in 2024, and then it moved back to Capricorn just in time for the election. And then it's moving back into Aquarius. So Pluto is the planet of transformation. It's also the planet of death, which when you look at death, or like the death card in tarot or something. It's all about rebirth, renewal. It's a pretty positive card, in my opinion. So destruction comes at the hands of Pluto, but Pluto also teaches us about our wounds. So with Pluto moving into Aquarius, and having been in Capricorn, which is Earth, which is cardinal Earth, really grounded energy, Saturn energy, with Pluto moving into Aquarius, which is air energy, which is also a Saturn sign, but it's more in the way of humanitarian efforts, the collective, more like large scale. So basically, we're moving into a period where the collective is going to be, the awareness will come, there'll be more of an awareness around healing, I guess, and humanitarian efforts. But so Pluto shifts in about 20-year periods. And the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was, let's see, 1778 to 1798, which we had American Revolution, French Revolution, a lot. So something to think about. We also
It's just food for thought. I don't know.
just food for thought. So we also have Neptune moving signs, another outer planet. Okay, so like when we're dealing with outer planets, we're looking at the collective. Like it's like large scale shit. Like when somebody's doing your astrological chart, your inner planets are the one that's going to define you and your characteristics more so as a person. The outer planets are collective. They're much slower moving. So Neptune has been in Pisces, which it rules since 2012, I believe. Yeah, 2012. Neptune is all about dreams and illusions, art, intuition, music, just a very dreamy kind of fluid, and it's been in Pisces where it wants to be because Pisces is ruled by Neptune. It's very much that vibe. And this is since 2012, but Neptune is moving into Aries. And that's going to be a little closer to 2026, but I believe it's towards the end of 2025. So we're looking at energy. Aries is Mars warrior, cardinal fire energy. Could not be more opposite Pisces. It comes after Pisces, but it's very different energy. So basically, the way I'm looking at that is like, with this Neptune and Pisces since 2012, there's been kind of like not really seeing what's going on, or maybe not as much discernment or care around what's happening. Kind of like an escapism, basically like sweeping stuff under the rug. Kind of a vibe with this Neptune and Pisces about what's surrounding us, what's happening in the collective. So I'm thinking that with Neptune moving into Aries, this like fast fire, impulsive warrior energy, is that it could be kind of like a mass wake up. Like we're gonna be like, holy shit, this is what's been going on. Like we're not cool with this. Like we have to. I will say also interestingly, like from a music perspective, I think the Neptune shift into Aries via Pisces could change like as far as like what is like the mainstream kind of vibe with like music and art and movies. And as far as music, I could really see that shift going towards punk and like the kind of like more aggressive styles of rock music. Just like at a collective level, instead of being more kind of like underground. Like obviously people like it. It's been around for so long. A little bit more niche though. And I think that we could see that changing. What else do we have going on? Uranus, we have our US has the Uranus return. We're going to have a conjunction with and Uranus is okay. So technology could be really expansive. Basically, a lot's going to go down. I do feel that with some of the planetary shifts, we have this move into the potential for like authoritarianism, fascism. Obviously, we're well aware of what's happening right now or what could be happening. But the hope I have for that, and what I think will happen, it might not be immediate, but if we look at timelines and what was going down last time, even with just Pluto, not even looking at the other planets around it, I do think that there's going to be a revolution. And I think that, large scale change, we need some pretty big changes. So, there's too much. I could go into astrology. Like this is just like grazing the surface. There's so much to go into. And I only wanted to touch a little bit of what's going on. But You
I
know,
love it.
even just with what we've seen in the news over the last few weeks, it's like, oh, things are gonna get crazy. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting time.
Yeah, you heard it first here. If you think things are rough now, huh.
Could be better though. I mean, things usually have to get worse. This could be a Tower tarot card moment, right? And a Death card moment where it's like, you know, the, the building has to crumble, everything has to fall down so we can rebuild. That's cycles.
I think that's like a very accurate reading. We are all feeling it and stuff. And like I don't think that this is the type of thing that you can just ignore. Well, I really appreciate you two making time for this tonight. I will leave with the same advice that I always leave, which is be rad, stay chill, and try to do the right thing. This has been Sierra Miffed. Really quick, would you guys mind saying where people can find you or us? What am I doing? Where can people find us?
We've got a Facebook. What's the Instagram? Is it just at Sierra Miffed? And then we've also got our Bandcamp. Bandcamp.sierramiffed.com. Check out our demo. It's real good. You'll like it.
I think it's sierramiffed.bandcamp.com. But
Oh, is it? Oh.
yeah,
Well,
it's
if you
fine.
go to our Instagram, you can find it linked there. And also, if you follow us there and or on Facebook, you will know what we're up to, what we have going on in the new year.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna spin out to a song. What do you think it should be?
Why don't we, can it be one of our songs?
Well, yeah. It's only gonna be 30 seconds. So
I mean, that's gonna be most of any of our songs.
I guess, yeah.
I would say if it's gonna be one of ours, you could do Bigger Person or the fan favorite, entitled Banger.
Well, yeah, but I don't know what I'm gonna choose. I don't know. Okay, speaking of 200 years, I just have to ask, what is your opinion on the relationship between Buffy and Angel?
I've never seen that show.
Yeah, I
Okay,
was just gonna say I was actually not ever like I have seen it. I've seen like bits here and there, but like not enough to really weigh in.
Yeah,
Like he
okay.
was the one of her boyfriends, right?
He's the vampire, so
he's
like,
Well,
yeah,
sure, but wasn't he the
yeah,
vampire slash like lover, right?
yeah, like, okay, people listening, spoilers. So like they hook up, right? So
sure.
he's like
Yeah.
Angel and he's like, I'm just like a cool guy, whatever. I'm like Angel, bye. I'm a vampire, but I'll never hurt you because I can't suck blood because I have a soul. But then they hook up and he's like not allowed to feel a moment of happiness, like not even for like a millisecond, or else he loses his soul and he becomes Angelus again. So for like the whole
Wait,
season,
what?
he's yeah, dude, yeah. But
And
like,
jealous.
yeah,
I'm confused already.
I guess
Okay, so
that's
he
what
has an alter ego, and
well,
he
it's
if
just
he's
like,
happy, then he'll.
yeah. So he has like a curse on him because
Okay.
his full name is Angelus,
Okay,
right? But
sure.
then he has
Yeah.
like this curse on him because he like killed someone that was like very important to this village of people and stuff. And they're like, we curse you. And so then he's like cursed with a soul and he has to recollect all the terrible things that he's done. But then if he feels like even this seems like a really bad, like whatever like clause to the curse where it's like if you feel happy though even for like a second then your soul goes away and it becomes really problematic for like a majority of the season that follows but like the core of the issue here is they hooked up right she's 17 he is 250 years old okay like
Wow.
Whoa,
I
Groomer.
know I
Groomer.
know yeah I mean he like
predator.
and like they go into his
Predator.
backstory and he's like he like was at her other high school where she like burned down the high school and that's why she had to go to the like Sunnydale or whatever. But he was like following her then. And then she shows up in Sunnydale and he's like day one, like, hey baby, I'm Angel. And it's uh, like there, sorry,
Yeah,
I
kind
said
of a
it.
creep.
Gross.
Kind of a creep.
Yeah, not a good move, not a good look.